Yes, LIR.com, 927LIR.com, and YouTube. I am John Kalaboukas, the Bouk, with my friend Paul Zubulake, Zoobie. So we're going to start. I would actually like to start off with the Giants, believe it or not, today.
Well, that's okay, John. We can do that.
Because I was really impressed with the way they played in the first half of the game against the Browns, because I actually watched that first half, and this kid Neighbors is some player. He's a real find. I didn't know much about him. What a find.
Well, absolutely. So, well discussed, well spoken about. First round pick, sixth pick of the first round. And Malik Neighbors has got a ton of talent and showed up big for the Giants, and it's kind of quieted the storm around the team. So if you're a Giant fan, you're probably still going to be in this complaining mode pretty much the whole year unless there's a major turnaround. But the funny part about that, John, is that I typically probably would not watch the beginning of a Giant game, but since obviously the Jets played Thursday, and we'll get to them later, I was like, well, let me definitely sit down. I'm going to sit here and watch the Giants before I switch over to the red zone, because it is kind of nice to see a game unfold as opposed to seeing nonstop games jumping all over the place. So I tune in, I'm ready to go. I sit down, and what happens, John, right? Lo and behold, fumble on the kick return, the dynamic kickoff. And then on the first play, Amari Cooper makes this circus catch, which is one of many circus catches he made.
Yes, he did.
I mean, he laid it out there for them. And the next thing you know, the Giants are down 7-0. So I was not watching with any Giant fans, but if I was, they were probably throwing stuff at the TV and cursing Brian Daboll out, and Joe Shane, and Mara, the owner, and everybody. But like you said, they turned it around with the help of Malik Neighbors. The defense came up strong.
Yes, they did.
And they beat a team that without Chubb Nick Chubb is just really just not a top team, and the Browns are looking like then a non-playoff team after 3 games.
Yeah, and the other player that played really well, again, another guy I don't know much about. I did the same thing like you. No Jet game, let's watch the Giants. And that's why I actually sat through the entire first half. This kid Singletary looked great too. Yeah.
Well, he's a known commodity. He's been in the league.
And Jones played a smart game. He played smart.
Yeah, he played within himself. The guy came off of an injury, and everybody expects opening day he's going to go out there and play perfect. I think the Giant fans just have this. It's an overhang, John, and they're bitter about the Daniel Jones situation. We documented it for Jet fans pretty well, saying that they kind of they're put in a terrible spot where a guy has his best year on a contract situation, gets the big contract, and then gets hurt again. He has ability. Can he take them far into the playoffs? I doubt it still. I really do. But it was good to see them play because as Jet fans, I mean, I don't want to see the Giants be terrible, right? I mean, we definitely want to make our fan base happy, and now they'll just we'll see what they do next week. Because if you saw anything about the NFL, and we'll get around the league as well soon, it's parody city, John. It really is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I mean, look at the 49ers that. They look like world beaters on the first game against the Jets, and they've been defeated ever since. They've been defeated since.
Right. They've lost their last 2. They've got a bunch of injuries, so that's a huge factor. Christian McCaffrey remains out. Deebo Samuel was out. John Kittle was out.
Yeah.
That's a lot to overcome, and because of the parity in the league, if you're taking injuries, it's going to be tough. But we'll get around the league in a minute. But I don't really. I was in and out of the Giant game, so I'd rather let you. If there's anything, I mean, we talked about.
No, I was impressed with the defense was awesome. I mean,
right.
they
that
played
was a big factor.
Great,
right?
Yeah, they played great.
So
Uh,
Brian Burns had a big game. Thibodeau made a big play. So their defensive backs, who were being kind of maligned as well, did well when Amari Cooper wasn't making those circus catches. So they had a kicker. He's not a great kicker. He missed the kick, but
yeah.
they didn't need him. So it's so funny. I honestly don't know who the Giants have week 4. I apologize there. I will definitely look it up. But do you have any more things you want to throw out there on the
No, no.
Giants?
I just thought that uh, you know the Jet game was a bit boring compared to the Giant game. The Giant game was actually competitive. And as I told you, Mr. Zubulake, I said by 17, but it ended up being by 21 that the
Oh, you're
Jets.
shifting over. Yeah, before we shift over, John, I don't know. I should have known this because when the Jets were playing Thursday, they were talking about the Giants playing Thursday. So Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels will be back at MetLife when the Cowboys come to town.
Ah, that's
So
yeah.
big game there for both teams. So that's going to be a turning point game for the Giants. We like to look at the season in quarters. I think you get a good feel for your team after 4 games. And yeah, we'll get to our team, John. The last time we spoke about them, I gave them a hard time. I'm on the record, and I stand by it actually, that we have Aaron Rodgers in 2024. We don't have Aaron Rodgers, who was the MVP. And look what happens, John. He goes out there and he plays like an MVP. And
I
not to mention how fleet of foot he was, where we both were giving him a hard time for his lack of mobility. So I guess Aaron was watching the film of himself and really realized that he had to make a bigger effort to try to show some escapability, and he did. I was stunned, John. I was literally stunned about how good he looked after, honestly, the first 2 weeks. He made some nice throws, no question, but definitely lacked that mobility, escapability, which was really a big concern. But we got to be realistic too. They faced a team who overachieved their first 2 weeks, got a huge win in Cincinnati, lost a tough game against Seattle. But really, John, they were on their third left tackle on offense, and they couldn't block the Jets. And the Jets defense really played well, and they kind of embarrassed them, and it was deserved, right, John? 8 consecutive losses at home
yeah.
to the Patriots. We finally got rid of that 15 loss streak at the end of last year, which we were happy they won that game. Who cares about the draft pick, even though it could have been Malik Neighbors? But they won that game against New England. And I'm happy they beat them last year, and I'm definitely happy they beat them at home. And kudos, John, to the fans who show up for these games.
Yes, they
Opening
did.
day, Thursday night, they were rocking. Good job by the fan base. They deserved it, man. They deserved it. This team has just been so bad at home for so long, and to finally beat the Patriots and to literally beat the crap out of them, let's be honest, on both sides of the ball. I mean, a really good effort across the board. There's really not many negatives to talk about. They distributed the ball better, right? Conklin got into the offense. That was a huge factor. He had a big game. So despite there's still issues with getting the snap off in time.
Yeah.
Uh, One time, I don't know if you caught it, where Aaron, they were right after they had kind of screwed up, if I remember correctly, and then they were lining up a few plays later, and Garrett Wilson did not know what side of the field to go on. He's
Yeah.
going back and forth, and finally you can hear it because the fans were nice and quiet when the Jets had the ball. He's like, "Just get set." He's yelling at Wilson, "Stop moving, dude!" And he stopped, and that's what has been missing for this franchise. And everybody made a big deal about this get together with Rodgers and Salah right after they got up 2 scores, where Salah goes in for the hug and Rodgers gives him like the cold shoulder. But that's what the coaching staff needs. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, guess what? We're up by 2 scores. Who cares? Let's hug after the game. So
That's right.
Aaron Rodgers is worth his weight in gold on that alone. and as just really just play a solid game. Now, let's see what they do next week. This should be another game where he should be very successful. There's no doubt that him and Nathaniel Hackett want to really put it to Coach Payton over with the Broncos at home in a situation which we talked about weeks ago. You had to win three out of these 4 games, right? They've got 2. They need another one, and hopefully they can actually make it 4 out of 5 in London. So that's where this team needs to be to make the playoffs, and that's the reality of the situation.
And like you said, it was a solid game by Rodgers. I love the variety of plays. They had so many great, just different plays, different people. It was like a well-oiled machine. I mean, he looked great, and they were making such a big deal about him and Salah, and I felt like saying, you know what, Salah deserved that. It's like coming, and he looked at him like, what are you talking? He like shoved him away. It's like, come on, what are you, a clown or something?
No, but he explained it away. He explained it, and he said that they did this where Salah was said, just give us 2-score lead, just give us a 2-score lead. And Rodgers was telling Salah, we gave you the 2-score lead. So it wasn't he wasn't trying to embarrass him. He's just trying to tell him that this is what you wanted. Now back it up, and they backed it up against an opponent who is really a wounded opponent. So that's the situation, and that's a
Well,
great thing for the Jets.
I'm a
And then
good
the
rip.
league,
I'm a very good lip reader, and that's not what I saw coming out of his mouth.
well, what do you think? So what did he say
I
when he
I
Mr.
don't
Lip
think it was
Reader?
anything like that. I think he just made it up because it was such a big deal that he shoved the guy. Um, I don't know what he said, but it wasn't that. I would have been
Well,
able to.
he said that there's your 2 scores. He didn't say it nice and friendly, right? He did say it in a way that, like, coach, here's your 2 scores. I think if you think it's more than that, I don't know. It could be. I mean, it's
I
fun to
just
speculate.
I just looked at his body language, which said, hey, bud, I'm a professional. I don't need a hug after every touchdown I throw. I mean, that's the kind of vibe I had. It's
Okay, that's
like,
fair.
listen, I'm a professional. I don't need a hug. Let me do my job. Leave me alone.
All
And
right.
that's and I don't fault them for that because we have a clown of a coach. So, you know what? Let's professionalize coaches, everyone. I mean, he's trying to get his receiver to get it. You're correct. I heard that too. He's trying to professionalize the team and he has high expectations. Why not? We've never had that. We've
I,
never had that.
I'm not
How long
disagreeing.
have we been waiting for a quarterback like him to take charge of the team? Just take charge. It's all right, everyone. We're going to do it my way. Listen, just follow me and we'll win. And
Well,
that's why I thought that this was going to be a blowout. I said 17. I was off by four
now you had
points.
it. You had it. I had it
Uh,
close. I thought it would be much more of a struggle, but didn't expect
I
Rodgers to look that good. And yeah, I definitely should have looked at the injury report with the Pats. That's the problem about making predictions on that was a Tuesday and when the game's on Thursday. So, but hey, good for you. I'm happy to be wrong on the blowout. It was a blowout. It was 20. It was a 21-point game. But the funny thing is, I don't know what Gerard Mayo is doing I literally was still watching at the end of the game where he puts Drake May in for some unknown reason, maybe to get his head knocked off. And then he doesn't even let the poor kid get a touchdown. They were inside the 10 and he had 3 timeouts and he let the clock run out. And it's like, why aren't you using your timeouts to get the kid a touchdown? So I thought that was a little strange. He just wanted to get out of there. So nothing like a good
yeah,
garbage touchdown for a rookie quarterback. The Pats are so the funny thing about this, John, is the Pats. Nobody you could have probably a bottom 5 team in the whole league. That's what you would have thought about them at the beginning of the year. They go out there and they pull an upset because Cincinnati was sleepwalking. The old preseason game, first regular season game. And the next thing you know, everyone thinks New England's a good team, but they're not good. And the Jets have to go beat Denver next week, despite their win. They had a nice win, good for them, and they got to prove it next week. So, like I said earlier, John, with all the parity in the league, I mean, it really could be a bunch of 11-6 and 10-7 teams this year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see teams going 15-2. I mean,
No.
Kansas City. I mean, how lucky can they get throughout the whole season? It's like, and if you look at the other undefeated teams in the league, it is pretty funny. Pittsburgh, Seattle, Minnesota, who had that threesome to be undefeated after 3 weeks.
And you have Sam Darnold, who's trying not to give up the starter's job when who was their draft pick? Was it
Well,
McCarthy?
McCarthy, but that's
Yeah.
next year. That's next year. He's out for the season. So there's
Oh, yeah. Oh,
no,
he is.
yeah.
Oh, he is. Okay. Okay.
So Sam supposedly had an MRI. He did get hurt, but I don't want to go around the league because I want to get back to the Jet
Yeah.
game and give
Well,
some kudos to some other guys and one guy in particular who I gave a hard time. One step behind Chuck Clark came from one step behind to being on the ball, and he had a good game. Everybody pretty much had a good game. Will McDonald, and I'm very happy for the kid, but he must be the luckiest guy in the NFL this year. He gets another sack and a half. Literally, the play he got the sack, he did not get blocked, and but he reacted and got in there and made the
yeah.
play. So he's off to a great start. It doesn't, to me, John, it's still a problem with the Hassan Reddick situation, which is going absolutely nowhere. And I'm sorry, I'm not taking these first 3 games and saying, oh, Will McDonald is the answer. We don't need Hassan Reddick. I think of, wow, if we had Hassan Reddick and then we have Will McDonald, now we've got 2 guys. And that's something that think if for the team to go to where they want to go, which is deep in the playoffs, they need Reddick. They still need him. So I don't know. The way it looks, it doesn't look like there's anything that's going to happen in the next few weeks, and this is just going to drag on, which is a complete. It's a shame, John. It's a real shame because this team can do some damage because they do have a quarterback now that if they do get a lead, you have confidence that they can actually keep the lead. So
Well,
that
what's
and also beyond
unfortunate.
Chuck Clark, I just wanted to mention Sherwood, Jamie and Sherwood in for Mosley had a huge game.
Yes, he did.
Obviously Quincy Williams is having a good game every week. So as Gardner bounced back, DJ Reed actually played. So good. Quinn Williams didn't play a lot. That was okay. I think he was in 50 percentile, 58 or 57. That's okay. They were winning big. That's when you give him the rest. I have no problems with him not playing a lot. So it's just a good effort all around. And I couldn't be happier at 2-1 after 3 weeks.
I think that this week is going to be another blowout for the
Okay.
Jets.
You got to save that prediction for later, John, but that's okay. It's okay. All
Yeah.
right. So you have anything else from the Jets? I know it was way back on Thursday night. Any other recollections you have out there? I should quickly look at.
I know.
Also, they did. Okay, one thing on defensively, they blitzed a lot. I did note that. So their percentage of blitzes were way above normal. So that's another example of like, okay, you can't rush with the 4 guys because you don't have the pass rushers like you had in the past. So they used the blitz a lot. So safety blitz, like I mentioned with Clark, Quincy Williams went in there blitzing. I think he got a sack. So that was something interesting to see. A little different philosophy on defense. Otherwise, it's kind of like you said, not the most exciting game. Workmanlike, we'll take it every week.
Yeah,
I'll
we'll
be
take it.
happy to do that. Be happy to
W-
do that.
We'll take it. Are you kidding me?
And then
Any
also
any
one other
victory.
thing quickly is I don't know if you noticed that the defense, the guys on the team were doing the Jermaine Johnson celebration where he like throws the sword in the ground. I don't know if you do that. It's like the hammer throw, and a lot of the guys were doing that for him. Good for them. So everybody's happy, John. What can I tell you? So that's good. We'll be happy for a week, and I agree with you. They should handily win this game at home, and we'll make our predictions later. And I'll check the line just to see what Vegas thinks. But I'm guessing it's got to be over a touchdown, right? 7.5. I want to throw out there. I don't know why.
Oh,
Let me
it
look it
should
up.
be. Yeah, it really should be.
All
Really
right. So
should be.
all right. So you want to let's get around the league, or
Well,
you have something
I
else?
wanted to say a couple of things.
Yeah,
I don't
of
know if you
course.
knew this, about I forgot to mention it when we were talking about the Giants. Did you know that the game before that the Giants are the first team in NFL history to score 3 touchdowns, not give up a touchdown in a game? First team in history.
Okay, repeat that again. I'm sorry, I
The
missed that.
Giants are the
Yes,
first team in
team.
history to
Okay.
score 3 touchdowns and lose a game to a team that they didn't give up a touchdown to.
What do you and lose the game? I'm so confused. You got me here. This is what.
This was not the game that was this past weekend. It was
Oh,
against
okay.
the Commanders.
Oh, against the Commanders. Oh, that's why I'm confused. Okay,
Yeah,
okay. All right. So
yeah.
I did not know that.
I saw that stat. Yeah, I was watching the game, and they had that stat. I'm like, first team in history not to give up a touchdown and score 3 touchdowns and still lose. Never heard of that. I didn't know that.
There you go. Well, there's a little tidbit. That's on. Okay, I thought you had more about the Jets, and people are not going to 7.5. I just saw it. That's somebody had 7.5. I promise, folks, I did not look. So just like Father K hit the line, but there it does vary. There are some different numbers here. So this is actually saying -7 Vegas Insider. So anybody who I guess Bronco bettors, they got that 7.5. They took it down. Everybody likes that little hook, as they call it, and get that extra half point. So now it's a pure 7 points. So we'll call it
Uh,
7. Jets favored by 7, and you're definitely we can make our predictions now. Why not? You're
yeah,
saying they're going to cover that number. What?
yeah.
How big of a victory?
I'm gonna say. I think they're gonna win by 17 again. I'll go with
17
17.
again. All right. I'll go with I'm gonna go with 10, and it could be a late cover, but I'll you worry about those backdoor covers. So Jets by 10, you got them by 17. That would make them 3-1 heading into the Minnesota game, which next week, folks, we are actually not going to be doing a show after the Denver game. I'm lucky enough to be going on a little vacation, so Bouk and Zoobie will not be on next week. Tonight we're taping, right, John, Monday, right after the Sunday games. There's 2 Monday night games. So again, as always, we really appreciate everybody tuning in on YouTube. Search Bouk and Zoobie, BoukZoobie, on Spotify.com. Please like our episodes, follow, subscribe, make comments. We're loving it. We're a word of mouth show, folks, so we need support. You like our content? Tell your friends. And of course, our friends at the world famous LIR.com and 927LIR.com, spinning the tunes on internet radio. As always, we thank them.
Yeah, and we may have a surprise guest, a real big surprise guest. We won't tell you yet, but right before the World Series,
Wow, I'm
we are going to
excited.
have a big surprise guest.
All right, well, that's a lot to live up to there. So that's the old teaser. Book is going out there and throwing the tease out. I won't be that brave. So we'll let you know, of course. But yeah, even though when you're not, you miss a show, please watch our older shows too, and that's fun too, because then you can see what we were saying a few weeks ago and to see how we're doing. Because we've been, we're realists when it comes to our teams, and I'm never going to change. I'm going to tell you what I think, and I'll be right sometimes, I'll be wrong sometimes, and hey, I couldn't be happier to see what's going on with some of the locals. So this city deserves it. It's been a lot of pain. So we obviously on the baseball side, which we'll get later, is just really exciting. Winter sports, getting ready, believe it or not, only weeks away now. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And our football team is doing well, and the Giants won. So we'll see how they play out. And like you mentioned earlier, Malik Neighbors, I mean, at least you got that. So when you have a big time playmaker, that's always makes your team more fun, and that's a good thing for your team. And they have a nucleus of players, so we'll see how it plays out. It's way early.
It's
Um,
early.
there's still going to be a lot because it's a week to week league, John. So everybody's happy this week, and then the next week something goes wrong, and everybody wants to go after them. So Coach Dayball is still on the hot seat. I'm sorry, he is. Coach Sala is definitely on the hot seat.
Oh
So
yes.
you couldn't be have those both seats are pretty hot, and we'll see how it plays out.
Dable, you know, I feel bad for the Giants because they really should have been 2-1. But you could see the desperation in the Giants the last game. I mean, they played really, really hard, really hard. And I'm saying to myself, okay, where was your energy in the first game? And the second game, I mean, they had some energy. I shouldn't say that, but still, they had the killer instinct in this game, and it served them well. I mean,
Well,
it was a fun game
desperation.
to watch.
Yeah. So I was starting to go around the league. We've been going in and out. So let's get around the league. We talked about the undefeated teams. I don't think I mean, all of them are surprised to an extent. Obviously, old time Jet fans with Geno Smith and Sam Darnold, both 3-0. It is kind of funny. Only this can happen to the Jets, where that could happen when their own team is actually doing well, that their ex quarterbacks are actually doing better. And Sam Darnold had 4 TDs, no interceptions. I mentioned earlier, did get rolled up, and it was supposed to have an MRI. So that would definitely be tough for him. Those two are the big, there's no doubt. And Justin Fields with the Steelers, who wasn't even supposed to be the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, Mike Tomlin's 3-0. Why in the world did I not include Pittsburgh in the playoffs? I did last year. I was smart. You just put him in there, John. It's unbelievable.
He's a great coach. He's a great coach.
Yeah, he's a guy who doesn't take any crap from anybody, and
No,
they don't
no.
win. It's not pretty, but and they do have some tremendous defensive players. I mean, it's Watt is so good. Hayward, tremendous. Highsmith. They definitely have players on defense. I don't know if the offense is going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh looks great. The one team that does not look very good are the Dolphins. And as people know, Tua is on the injured reserve now for at least 4 games, maybe more. Uh, they're going to let the kid make his own decision. It doesn't look very good. It doesn't look very good for the Dolphins, and it doesn't look good for Tua. I mean, they played an awful game, absolutely awful game. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. We talked about Skylar Thompson the week before, saying, "Oh, that's the plan." I don't know what happened with Mike White. They didn't want to pay him. He's sitting on the Buffalo Bills practice squad. They brought Tyler Huntley in from the Ravens, but he obviously doesn't know the playbook. So yeah, they're going now. I was really funny. Adam Schefter was on with McAfee today, and he threw out Zach Wilson's name as a potential quarterback that they could acquire. That just shows you where the lack of players are. So
wow,
that would be pretty hysterical. Only in a year with the Jets having a good team, with the Dolphins do
wow.
something crazy like that. Uh, they're in huge trouble, John. They are in huge trouble. I found actually the funniest thing is for the part of the game that I did watch where they actually tried not to do a Hail Mary, where because Skylar Thompson could not throw the ball over 50 yards, where they literally were throwing the ball underneath. It was at the end of the first half. He threw it underneath, and there was a penalty, so they had another chance, and he still didn't throw the Hail Mary. It was like literally like he didn't want to embarrass himself that he couldn't throw the ball 40 yards or 50. So I'm
Wow.
thinking to myself, is he got a bad arm, or he cannot throw a deep ball in a no lose situation at the end of the half.
Wow.
So he just looked terrible, and they just again it's good news for the Jets. There's just no other way of slicing it, folks. It makes it pretty much a 2-team race in the AFC East.
Yeah, I mean, the Dolphins didn't exactly have a good week. I don't know if you know that Mercury Morris passed away.
I did see that. Yes.
Yeah. When you look at his stats, I mean, rushing for 1,000 yards was a big deal back then. I mean, number one, it was only 14 games back
Right.
then.
Hmm.
But there was one thing that really stood out to me is how many touchdowns he scored in their championships, um, years. In '72, he had he scored 12 rushing touchdowns, and then 73 10. I mean, that's
And they
amazing. I
shared the
mean, that's
load.
huge. And
They
he
shared
had
the load.
Larry
Yeah.
Zonka and Jim Kick back then
Yeah.
sharing the rushing job with
Yeah.
him. So I mean those are amazing stats for
Well,
those
hey,
guys.
that's why they didn't lose a game. Bob Greasy used to throw like 12 to 15 passes in a game, and that was back when the NFL was a primarily running league on top of it. Yeah, no, Mercury Morris, he had some personal issues, unfortunately, after he stopped playing, but he got his act together. Sorry to hear. Do you remember his first name? What is Mercury Morris's first name?
Oh, I forgot.
I
I
actually
forgot.
remember this. Eugene, I believe, is the correct answer. So
Eugene.
I
Okay.
believe. So we'll have Father K write a comment in if I have that wrong. Yeah, sorry to hear about that.
Yeah, yeah. And then there was another thing going back to the Pats, but a former Pat, which is Mr. Brady, that they actually had an article that some of his teammates were quoting that if the coach sent in a play that he did not like, that he would purposely throw away the ball so they would never use the play again. It's like, wow, okay. Yeah, that happened with the Patriots and with the Buccaneers.
Hey, you got all those rings, John. You could do what you want. I think, yeah. And also, didn't Baker Mayfield he basically spoke for the teammates, wasn't it? And he said something about about negative about Brady, and I was just like, it's like, and they go out and they lose. I mean, classic, right?
Right.
So they're 2-0, and they start talking smack, and then they go out and lose. So the it just is an amazing. It is. Its karma is tough. Hey, when you got that many rings, like I said, John,
You
I
can
don't
do what
care.
you want, man. If you don't
Right.
like the play, he, like I said, he just threw the ball away. He threw it on purpose, and they said he didn't like the play, so he says, "All right, I'm going to embarrass the coach and make it look bad, and we'll never use it again."
Well, I'll tell you the one. I mean, Brady. I will say it's only a couple of games in on his commentary career, but he was a hell of a better quarterback than he is as a
Oh,
commentary.
yeah,
And
yeah,
not adding a whole lot. You would think he would add a lot. He's just full of the old cliches, and he had a weird game, right? Because we can get to that crazy game because there was more activity in the afternoon games and the Monday night game, and the Ravens, who had a huge lead, almost self-destructed, and the Cowboys came flying back and even had a chance, but ultimately Lamar Jackson made the plays and did not give them that last chance that they needed. So the Ravens, talk about desperate for victory,
wow,
just like the Bengals are going tonight against the Commanders. This I absolutely must win at 0-2. It just seemed like there was a lot of like it just evened out this week. And the other really great second game on the late slate was the Rams had a huge comeback victory over the 49ers, which you already talked about briefly, where Matthew Stafford came back and made some big throws. And the 49ers just kind of like gave that one away. So great comeback for the Rams. So there was definitely this. It's really just wild, right, John? I mean, there's
yeah,
like with Carolina winning right over Tampa. So Andy Dalton coming in and showing that a veteran quarterback can help stabilize a franchise. There's nothing wrong with sitting quarterbacks, right? There's
right,
nothing wrong
right,
with it.
right,
Look at C.J. Stroud. He looked very pedestrian, and they got whipped. So,
yep,
and then the Colts had a huge win. They had to get off of 0-2, and they got to 1-2. So it's I look as the NFC. I believe I think yes, Seattle is the only undefeated team after 3 weeks. I think that's it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like I mentioned, Pittsburgh as well on the other side. So I can't count Buffalo yet because they got to play, and then obviously Kansas City, who I guess what is there a story that Travis Kelsey was like pouting or something? Is that what's happening? He didn't get the ball enough? Is that a real
Yeah,
story? Is that just fake crap and nobody
yeah.
believes
I
it?
mean, they have him putting his head down and moaning and groaning, and I'm saying to myself, look at that. Maybe he found out that Taylor wasn't at the game, and
Yeah,
maybe
that's
he
right.
wasn't going to make another $100 million off of her before he gets rid of her, or she gets rid of him. Who knows?
And we should actually mention, we didn't mention, I don't think last week, is that Pacheco, from Rutgers, our guy from Rutgers for Kansas City, out.
Yeah,
I don't know how long he's going to be out, right? He's got a fibia injury, but it's like a fracture. So
yeah. He's a good
he's
player.
also on. Yeah, he's huge for them. That's a big loss. Who knows? Topsy turvy. Chargers lost. Herbert. I don't know why you're playing this guy hurt. I don't get it. It's a long season, especially when you're
Stupid,
2-0. You're playing
stupid.
him hurt. He kind of gets hurt a little more. Harbaugh's a little crazy though, John, and that's what my initial thought was with the Chargers. It would take them some time to kind of get used to him, and they would struggle actually initially. They get off to a great start, with the help of the Panthers, who looked like the worst team in the league until they won. So I don't know who. Yeah, that's. I guess we're gonna have to the competition. Who is the worst team? I don't think you can say for sure. I guess the Panthers still deserve it, but they got to win.
Yeah, I don't think the team that I don't think is actually very good is the Commanders. I don't think that's a good team at all. They,
Well,
they,
that's
they, they're not good at all. It's going to be a long season for Washington. Long season.
yeah, no, actually, yeah. So if you look at, I'm just quickly looking at the standings. I mean, they did get a win though. So you're looking at winless teams. Yeah, the Bengals. I mean, the Titans are the worst team right now. Only ones that are 0-3. Jaguars and Bengals could join them at 0-3 if they both lose tonight. So you wouldn't expect those are the teams that would be winless. So as the theme that we started the show on is parity is in the NFL. And you probably should be. I don't know. You could make a lot of case for a lot of teams. So it's way early, and but at the same time, the season goes so fast, right, John? As we head
Oh
into
yeah,
week 4 in the
already.
NFL.
We'll be in October soon already.
All right. Do you have anything winter sports you may want to throw in there before we get to the
I
real
do.
exciting stuff? You do.
I
What do you got?
do. So NBA, our good friend Mitchell Robinson.
Update. Okay.
It's just been announced that he will be out until January,
Really?
recovering from his ankle injury that he had surgery on in May. So it looks like it's going to be Achua and Sims at the center position, unless they go small and they have Randall playing there,
Yeah. Well,
or they
they're
get
gonna go.
someone.
Yeah, they're gonna go small against certain teams, no question. Against Embiid, they're gonna have to play big. Certain teams, they're gonna have to play big. But I think they're gonna go small, John. There's no question. They're gonna go very
Wow.
small.
And speaking
And
of Embiid, he signed a 3-year,
yeah,
$192 million extension. That's huge money. And he's a great, listen, when he's healthy, he's an absolutely awesome player. I mean, Philly is going to be really tough this year for the Knicks. I mean, they're really, really big up front, really big up front, that team. And again, if that team is healthy, I think that's going to be the Knicks' biggest challenge of the Sixers. I'm not sold. I've never been sold on the Celtics, even though they're the champs. I just think that the two toughest teams that they could have played, they did not play. They had a
that's true.
cream puff. They had a cream puff playoff schedule. So yeah,
You
now the
won't let
Sixers.
that one go. You won't let
No,
it go.
just
So
because let them go through some competition. They had no competition. It's
well, that's the way to
unfortunate.
play that. That's the way to
Yeah,
play it out. They are the
and
defending champs. You got to give them the credit.
you got to give them the
But
credit.
way too early, John. Way too early to talk about the NBA. We could talk about college football, where now we're not going to talk about college football because that means I'd have to mention one of the worst defeats I've ever seen in my life. Where we can talk about it because Deion Sanders was on the other side of the field, and it's always a story when Deion's Colorado Buffaloes are on the field. But if you were up and have no life like me on Saturday night at about 11:30, when the Baylor Bears snatched victory from the jaws of defeat, or
I knew
however
you
you
were going to
say that,
mention
the other
this.
way around, absolutely one of the worst defeats ever. And I sat there silently staring at my TV, wondering how in the world did they lose this game? So that's the college football update. But one thing tied to that game is Deion's son, Shador Sanders, and Travis Hunter, who is, I mean, again, the guy plays both ways, John. Literally misses like a handful of plays on offense and defense. Definitely going to be a first round pick, probably a top 10 pick, and Sanders as well, the coach's son, also going to probably be a top 10 pick. But John, his dad is going to get himself killed because his offensive line is horrible. Baylor had 8 sacks. They could have had 13 or 14, but they let him out of their grasp, and he got nailed on other plays. So they better protect him because he's going to get hurt. And he's a big kid, and he's a tough kid, and he's a tremendous talent, but he's going to get hurt. So anyway, there's your college football update. I had to throw that in, that misery. Luckily, the Jets won on Thursday, so I still had the smile on my face. That won't wipe it away. And another reason, John, why I have a smile on my face is not because of my prediction for the Mets was so wrong, is that it's time for baseball with Bouk.
Yes, you were wrong about the Mets. So my prediction of 86 wins, they've already passed that. The Yankees have achieved their 92nd win already. So both of my predictions with a week to go came true.
You did. Congratulations. I have taken the donut on my predictions, happily on the Mets, but not necessarily that happy with the Yankees. But I should have did what you did, take the reversal in the beginning of the year. That's the Bouk and Zoobie tradition. When you can bail out of your bad picks, you were smart. You bailed out. So I give you 1.5 for that. But your Mets, you hit it 86. So you got to give the situation for everybody because again, it is
Well,
Monday, the
yes, it
23rd.
is
So give us, with I believe only 6 games remaining.
6 games to go.
All right.
And
But yeah.
my wish for them going into Atlanta did not come true because I wanted them to be 3 up. They're only 2 up.
All right.
If they win, uh, uh, listen, they have Sale, Freed. I mean, they have three. What's the kid's name? Schellenbach, really pitches well against them. So they have their 3 top pitchers against the Mets. The Mets have Severino. They have Mania, and I think they're going to throw Quintana, which I think will be a disaster in Atlanta. So, I mean, technically, the Mets have their 3 best pitchers going against the Braves. So you have 3 games against the Braves, 3 games against the Brewers. Now, if the Mets win 2 out of 3 with the Braves, they cement they get a playoff spot. They clinch. They don't
Because
have to
they
do
have the
anything.
tiebreaker. Because they have the
Yes,
tiebreaker.
so they don't have to do anything against the Brewers. But I'm looking, I hate to look too far ahead here, but my hope is that the Mets finish behind the Diamondbacks. I don't want us to catch, we're tied with the Diamondbacks right now because the way it's set up right now is 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5. So right now the setup will be San Diego against the 5th place team, which could be the Diamondbacks or the Mets. I would rather face the Brewers. The Brewers are 3rd. The Mets could beat the Brewers pretty easily. I really don't want to face the Padres. They're hot. They're the hottest team. They still have excellent pitching. They have excellent hitting. that's a dangerous team in the playoffs here. The
And
most
it's that
dangerous team.
Joe Musgrove 2 starts against the
Oh
Mets. That's a
God.
disaster. He throws
And all
his mitt out there and he shuts him out. You're
and
right. Good call there. Good call there.
and all 3 games are going to be in San Diego. So that's tough.
Oh, I'm
I want
sorry.
the
So I'm
Mets.
wrong about that. So I'm sorry. So Musgrove will not pitch Game 5 because it's only a 3-game series, right? So
Right,
I'm wrong about that.
right.
So Musgrove, at least that's the only bright spot. He only pitches once. But I hate that 3-game series. Gosh, with all
Yeah,
these
I mean,
extended playoffs, yeah, I guess this is the
that's
way
the
it is.
first round, and then the
Yeah,
second
better than
round.
one and done. That one and
Right.
done was ridiculous. That's
Yeah,
ridiculous. Okay.
yeah. It
I guess I
wasn't
have to live
fair.
with 2 out of 3. All right. Good
But
point there. Okay.
Acuna playing great. I mean, really small guy, but with power, surprising power, speed. He plays a beautiful shortstop. Lindor. I don't know what's going on with that back, but they're keeping him out until Tuesday. Let's hope Lindor comes back. Uh, Christian Scott, unfortunately, Tommy John surgery. He's going to be out all of 2025. He he was pitching great for them. During the year he's been out for a couple of months, but they decided to give him Tommy John surgery. So Pete Alonso just continues not to produce. Every time the bases are loaded, second and third, I say, come on, Pete, please do something. He might do it for one night, but man, he is consistently bad with runners and scoring and swinging at such stupid pitches. I mean, pitches he has no shot of hitting. It's amazing that the Mets keep winning because JD Martinez is in a big slump.
Yeah, he is.
Alonso's in a slump.
All right.
I mean, Alvarez has woken up
Yeah, that
somewhat.
helped. Yeah.
Thank God we have Tyrone Taylor. I mean,
Yeah.
that tremendous backup player. I mean, they have some nice backup players. Uh, Vientos is in a slump. I mean, he looks lost. I mean, he's been striking out left and right. So, I mean, with a team that I don't know how they scored 10 runs 3 games in a row. It was the first time they ever did it in their history. But I'm saying these guys have been in a prolonged slump and they keep winning, and it's their starting pitching.
Yeah,
Starting
fantastic.
pitching has been terrific. Terrific, of course. And Diaz with a 6-out save last night. He looked awesome. He looks like the Diaz of old.
Well, that's smart. They did that when they know they had Monday off, so you can excuse that, right? So he's got to obviously be able to pitch now, if in theory, 6 days in a row. I mean, I hate to say it because every game matters that much. Not that he's going to pitch 6 in a row,
Right.
but that's what you're looking at because they got to get in. But you're right, John. They are in a really good spot. Even if if they win 2 out of 3, they're basically, like you said, you're saying they're clinching, right? Because
They
they have the
clinch.
tiebreakers.
They
So
clinch.
that is not a huge ask. Even so, 1 out of 2 gets them to what? So they have to win. It depends, obviously. They would have to win at least 2 against Milwaukee, right? So,
Yes.
because it's a 2-game spread, but they have so they would clinch with 2, right? So,
Yeah,
no
because
matter what.
because well, no, if they beat the Braves 2 out of 3, they clinch because you got to remember they're
Right.
playing against the Braves.
Of course, right.
Uh, and then
No,
the
I'm saying if they
Braves,
won 1 out of 2, if the Mets win 1 out of 3, I should say, if they win 1 out of 3, they'll be 1 game up, but they've got the tiebreaker. So
correct.
they would just have to win 2 out of 3 against Milwaukee
Milwaukee,
because even
correct.
even if even if the
That's
Braves
correct.
sweep, they get in. Now the Brewers will be in, right? They have
They're
nowhere to
in.
go, or
They're
they're in.
in.
I know, but can they move up and down on the seeding
No,
list?
no.
So are
It's
they going to?
between the Dodgers. It's between the Dodgers. The Dodgers have one more win than the Phillies, so
All right.
that everyone's trying to get that number 1 seed because they get a bye,
Right. Okay. So Milwaukee is 3 no matter what.
no matter what. No matter
Interesting.
what.
So they probably don't want to play the Mets. Now, again, you'd have to look at how the numbers line up against the other teams. So maybe that's wrong. So Milwaukee will. The thing is, Milwaukee's going to be setting up their pitching no matter what for the playoffs.
It's
So
not
they
impress.
may.
They don't impress me as a team.
I'm just saying,
They,
John, you want to be in a situation where they don't care. That's what you want,
right,
right?
right.
So
That's right.
anyway,
Yeah, I
go
mean,
out there. The Mets, John, they got to win 1 out of 3 here to basically still be in pretty good, very good shape. They
yes,
got it. I mean,
yes.
they cannot get swept. That would be a disaster. Hopefully, it doesn't happen.
Let's cross our fingers. But the National League. The Mets are tied with the D-backs. The Braves are 2 back. So, and really, the Braves have the Royals. The Royals. I mean, you talk about bad timing for a team. They've lost 7 in a row right now. 7 in a row. So they're going to end up playing the Braves in the last 3 games of the year. So, switching back to the American League, I mean, you talk about a crazy wild card now. So the Yankees and Guardians, the Yankees are up 2 games over the Guardians for most wins.
Okay.
The Astros are in, the Orioles are in. So now what you have left over is the Royals and the Twins, the Royals and the Tigers
Right, they're tied.
are tied now. The Tigers are up 1 game on the Twins. The Twins have been falling apart, and the Mariners are still in it. They're only 2 out. So, I
Right.
mean, the
Okay.
American League is going to be very, very interesting. I mean, the Royals, the way they've been playing, they could be knocked out of this. And the Tigers, the team that I predicted in the beginning of the year, might make the playoffs. I didn't
Right. Right.
expect them to make the playoffs, but man, they've been playing great as a team.
So
They got
okay, just
pitching.
right. So with the Yankees, they're up 3 on the loss column with the Guardians. So the Yankees are getting the bye. It looks like.
Yeah, yeah, they're gonna get unless they totally fall apart. They have it, as far as
So
I'm concerned.
there's not even a team close to 100 wins here, huh? Wow, this is a weird
No,
year. Very talk about parity with baseball, the way
yeah,
it's turning out, right?
yeah, yeah.
Nobody, actually, probably nobody can win 100 games because the Dodgers have
No,
93 and there's
right.
only 6 left. So, and that's the American League, the Yankees at 92. So no team in MLB is going to win 100. Interesting.
No, and like I said, in the American League just looks. I know I keep repeating myself, but they look weak. The American League, compared to the National League, looks very, very weak. The Yankees should really get into the World Series pretty easily. I mean, if you look at their competition here, there really isn't any team that really can threaten the Yankees. The Yankees should just cruise right to the World Series.
All
I mean,
right.
that's
Well,
my
you've been saying
opinion. I
that for
mean,
a while. No, you've been
yeah,
saying
they
that for a
really
while.
should. They really should.
All right, so
Um,
who's close? So the Yankees did change their closer, right? Clay Holmes is out as closer. He's been out for a few weeks, right? So
yeah,
do they have a closer?
they've had Weaver come in, who's
Okay.
actually done a pretty good job.
All right.
Yeah, yeah, they're afraid of Clay Holmes.
But
Like I
that in the
said,
playoffs is still the one weakness there. They don't have a
yeah,
big time closer. All right.
yeah. I mean, they
Will
have to
that
hope
come
their
back to
starters
haunt them?
go. They have to hope that their starters, go very deep into the game. I mean, Cole pitched a complete game last week, a couple of days ago.
Oh my God.
So
All right. So quickly,
yeah,
John, I do want to do you have an update for the pitchers, the pitcher count for any of the teams? If you're not following, Bouk and Zoobie, we've been
they're still
talking about it.
still the only team are the
Only one.
Marlins.
All
The
right.
only
No
one.
one's gonna only cannot get to the magical 40. The Mets ended up probably going to be at 37, right? There's no way that anybody's coming up, right? So that's it.
And it,
So only 37 pitchers, folks. So remember next year when you're looking at your spring training roster, think about the 10 guys that you don't even know are going to be pitching for the Mets next year. They haven't even shown up. So
well,
get
it's
get ready
nice
for
to
that.
it's nice to see that Mendoza has recognized that Budo needed a rest because he was out of gas. He didn't pitch him for almost a week, and he looked very strong last night. Very,
All
very
right.
strong. So,
All right.
knock
Good.
on wood, Budo is back. He's pitched, I think, 73 innings this year.
No, he's
As
been big. Yeah, it's
He's
not
been
used to it. He's a traditional starter. Mendoza's been pulling the strings. He might even get some manager of the year votes. Great job. We don't care about stuff like that, but he deserves at least some consideration, considering what a terrible situation they were in. It's really amazing, John. I'll tell you,
it
what a
is.
great turnaround. Can they keep it going? Let's get in, and we'll be definitely, like I said, we're not doing next week's show, so the week after that we'll probably be already in the playoffs. Hopefully, the season's still going, John. We might have to. I don't know what we're going to have to do there with the Mets with our coverage, but you may end up going on your own if the Mets are, going to advancing to the second round.
A couple of things that we should mention in Major League Baseball. Did you see what the Nationals did with C.J. Abrams, who's one of their better players?
Yeah, they sent them down, right?
They sent him down. Why? Because he was out gambling. They had a curfew, and he showed up to the game about 2 hours before the game was going to start, right from the casino.
Oh boy, there you go. Another
And then we
story
have
that
our man we got to mention Shohei Ohtani,
Of course, that's true. That is true. You can't
first
talk
50
about
50
baseball without
guy.
him.
Amazing, amazing year,
Yep, he is your MVP, no
easily.
question. Well deserved. I did pick the Dodgers against the Orioles. I don't know if you remember. So for all my bad takes on the New York teams, my general pick was Dodgers Orioles. I don't think I picked a winner. I think we do one of those where we wait, we'll repick, have some fun with that. Maybe we won't because we won't be on, John. I don't know. But I know there's one more thing we want to do is our weekly rant of the week.
Thanks, Paul. So I'm going to continue on baseball because the mistreatment again of the baseball fan, this time Mets fans. This weekend, when they were playing the Phillies, there were 3 games on. Okay. The first game they said was on Fox. And I'm searching Fox.
If you could
Fox.
find it. Yeah.
In New York is channel 5. Not there. Football games on. Then I said, all right, let's go for FX1, which is on 69. Not there. Looking all over the dial, all over. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. I said, there has to be somewhere. Where was it? Good old Channel 9. Since when is Fox on Channel 9? It's WWOR, as we all know it. So any of you who are Met fans that, it almost felt like an Apple TV game where you can't see the game. I missed half of the game looking for it. I said, where are they?
And
Sunday
John,
game.
wait, hold on quickly. I do remember like searching on the internet, and all it tells you is Fox. So it
Right.
wasn't like you probably would have to be following somebody on X who was on top of it who could have told you that. But if you just did a general search, which I did, it said Fox.
Right.
And I actually eventually gave up because I'm a big college football guy. So I was like, you know something, I can't find this freaking game. But anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there that how absurd that was.
Yeah, it was stupid. I mean, you tell me Fox, I know where Fox is, and I thought I was losing my mind there. Then we have good old MLB deciding to change the Mets Sunday game, which is always at 1:30 in the afternoon.
Fan appreciation game.
Yeah,
Day.
to
Fan
7 o'clock
appreciation day.
at what was it, 7:30 at night. I was like, just total disrespect for the fans again. But what was even more disrespectful is we only got our announcers 1 out of 3 games, and these are major games. So we didn't hear Ron, Keith, or Cohen
Yeah.
for a Saturday game. It's just total disrespect for the fans. And what's even more of a joke with the Mets, again, listen, we're both big Met fans, but I want our team to have some type of class or something. So they had usually fan appreciation weekend or day that they actually give something to the fans or
Right, right.
so
Used to
they
be the
decided to
coolers.
have they called it a block party outside of City Field. Now
Bring your own.
usually when you have a block party, you're going to have food, you're going to have drinks, you're going to have whatever. They had food trucks charging people through the nose for food out there. What kind of fan appreciation was this? If you want to have a real and a true block party, food and drinks should have been for free. Okay, especially that the fans have supported the Mets when they really started off poorly. And by the way, no complaints about, well, the fans should have been supporting them better when they were playing the Nationals. Come on, man. They got 25,000 on a Monday night. That's a lot of fans. And let's not
Right.
forget people go to school, kids go to school, people go to work. So all the critique about fans not showing up when they're in a pennant race, that's ridiculous. Look, they sold out the whole weekend with the Phillies.
Right, right.
Okay? Do you really expect people to come on a Monday night, Tuesday night with the threat of rain in one of the nights? So just a disrespect to the fan, especially Mets fans this weekend was, uh, I just want the Mets to become a little bit classier of an organization. And that is my rant.
Good rant, John. Appreciate it. So, as I mentioned earlier, we are not going to be on next week, but we do still appreciate everybody tuning in. Hopefully, you enjoyed this week's episode. Like John said, we hope to have some big news on some guests in the future. We'll definitely have our NBA, NHL previews. Baseball, we'll just jump right back in, John. So hopefully the Mets are still playing. And who else we got to thank?
Again, thank you to our producer, Zach Zubulake, and to our loyal listeners. Keep the feedback coming. And again, thank you for listening and viewing our shows. Also, thanks to our community partners, Ronald McDonald House, Kids in Seats, and the Jackie Robinson Foundation. See you in a couple of weeks.